Belgium is a federal state comprising 3 communities and 3 regions that are based on 4 language areas. For each of these subdivision types, the subdivisions together make up the entire country. In other words, the types overlap. The language areas were established by the Second Gilson Act, which entered into force on August 2, 1963. The division into language areas was included in the Belgian Constitution in 1970. Through constitutional reforms in the 1970s and 1980s, regionalization of the unitary state led to a 3-tiered federation. Federal, regional, and community governments were created. A compromise designed to minimize linguistic, cultural, social, and economic tensions. This is a schematic overview of the basic federal structure of Belgium as defined by Title I of the Belgian Constitution. Each of the entities either have their own parliament and government or their own council and executive college. The entities in italics do not have their own institutions. Arrondissements because they are purely administrative. Language areas because they merely define the linguistic regime of a municipality. And the Flemish region because its powers are exercised by the Flemish community. The 3 communities are. The 3 regions are. The 4 language areas, occasionally referred to as linguistic regions, are. All these entities have geographical boundaries. The language areas have no offices or powers and exist de facto as geographical circumscriptions, serving only to delineate the empowered subdivisions. The institutional communities are thus equally geographically determined. Belgian communities do not officially refer directly to groups of people but rather to specific political, linguistic and cultural competencies of the country. All communities thus have a precise and legally established area where they can exercise their competencies. The Flemish community has legal authority. The French community analogously has powers only within the French language area of the Walloon region and in the Brussels capital region, and the German community in the German language area, which is a small part of the province of Liege in the Walloon region, and borders Germany. The constitutional language areas determine the official languages in their municipalities, as well as the geographical limits of the institutions empowered for specific matters. Although this would allow for 7 parliaments and governments. When the communities and regions were created in 1980, Flemish politicians decided to officially merge the Flemish region into the Flemish community, with 1 parliament, 1 government and 1 administration, exercising both regional and community competencies. Although Flemish parliamentarians from the Brussels capital region cannot vote on competencies of the Flemish region. Thus in the Dutch language area a single institutional body of parliament and government is empowered for all except federal and specific municipal matters. While the Walloon region and the French community have separate parliaments and governments. The Parliament of the French community draws its members from the French-speaking members of the Walloon Parliament and the Parliament of the Brussels capital region. And ministers of the Walloon government often serve as ministers in the government of the French community as well. The Flemish region and the Walloon region each comprise 5 provinces. The Brussels capital region is not a province, nor does it contain any. The 3 regions are further subdivided into 581 municipalities, which in general consist of several sub-municipalities. These sub-municipalities were independent municipalities in the past, but no longer serve an official purpose. Lesser subnational entities include the intra-municipal districts, the administrative, the electoral and the judicial arrondissements, police districts, as well as the new inter-municipal police zones. The federal state retains a considerable common heritage. This includes justice, defense, federal police, social security, public debt and other aspects of public finances, nuclear energy, and state-owned companies. The state is responsible for the obligations of Belgium and its federalized institutions towards the European Union and NATO. It controls substantial parts of public health, home affairs and foreign affairs. Communities exercise competences only within linguistically determined geographical boundaries, originally oriented towards the individuals of a community's language. Culture regions have authority in fields connected with their territory in the widest meaning of the term, thus relating to the economy, employment, agriculture, water policy, housing, public works, energy, transport, the environment, town and country planning, nature conservation, credit, and foreign trade. They supervise the provinces, municipalities and intercommunal utility companies in several fields. The different levels each have the